Hello everyone. I hope you are all doing well today. As I mentioned, I think in my little couple series of videos I've been looking into what am I going to play next. I think I mentioned maybe I do a little bit of world building on a couple different games, make some videos about them. Just kind of just playing around a little bit, see what I think. Play around with it, and that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to be world building Cairn today. The Warden's Guide has a whole fun series about world. I've not built a world for Cairn, but it's got everything in here. It's so much fun. I don't know, it looks very cool. We're gonna play and have fun with it. Throw a few dice around, make some random rolls about all sorts of things on putting the world together. I think this first section of it kind of covers a good chunk of the world that we're putting together. I did print out this book on a little bit of a larger format, a little easier on my eyeballs. It doesn't stretch my book as much. Yeah, so I may be journaling this game if I play it long term. In fact, I most likely will journal this game long term. Just because it's a narrative-driven game, so there's going to be a lot of narratives, quests. There's going to be a big portion of this. If I play it forward, and I think, factions might be a big part, NPCs be a part of it. Hopefully, I'll get a couple dungeon crawls, forest crawls. Anyway, it's going to be a big thing. But with a lot of narrative focus, it might be kind of fun to journal. I've not journaled a whole lot of my games. But I think for tonight, we're just taking notes. I don't think I want to waste a lot of time writing stuff in the journal. I think I'm just going to note first, and then as we're building the world, and then maybe write that a little bit more narratively as we proceed. Anyway, there's not really a lot to it, so but it might cause lots of reflections about what kind of world we're rolling. There's a lot of random seeds, so it'll be kind of fun to see what randomly we come up with. So, first off, let's start. This is going to be kind of a region. I'm not too worried about like the realm at large. This is a solo play, so I'm going to do mostly just a region we're living in. I'm even going to do a map for the region, but whether we'll actually explore the whole map, who knows? Probably not. I'm even going to roll things like factions. How many of the factions I actually deal with? Who knows? Until I start playing, I'm not going to know. But we're going to build a larger world, although not too large, still pretty focused on a central town and the surrounding areas, and just kind of play from there. Like I said, I think Cairn's world building is very fun. At least it's very thorough and thoughtful in different ways, which maybe you don't always think about. Either it's already written for you in other games, or maybe you don't even really think about it as coming into play. For example, the first section here is really about the people of the region. I think it might kind of give us an idea of what part of the world, like what are people like. I'll be able to utilize this to help maybe give guidance to NPCs about maybe what some of their goals and ambitions are, and what the people of this region are like. Let's do it. It's 2d20s. Let's see. The first one is the culture. It's got both a character and an ambition. I guess maybe I will do the darker dice will be the first one, character. 14 and 11. 14, a scholarly society. Wow, okay. Let's write that down here, scholarly. Wow, this pen is very slick. Scholar. Maybe I'll need to work on my journaling. That's why I'm taking notes. Wow. Scholarly. Number 2, natural harmony is their ambition. Okay. That's very perfect. Wow, this pen is slippery. Okay. That's cool. Scholarly and natural harmony. Huh. Uh, okay, cool. I like that. Let's see. What sort of resources, abundance and scarcity? Oop. This place is rich in trade goods. Sounds very productive, but 4, they are scarce in herbs. Well, okay. All right, that's kind of cool. Okay, I already kind of like the way that's setting off. I picture kind of something like a druidic society, right? If they're into natural harmony and they're scholarly, I kind of view this town we're in as maybe a hub for a very druidic kind of society already. They must create a lot of things, though, in this town. Trade goods is what they have a surplus of, so they must do a lot of manufacturing in this area. What kind of things would Druids manufacture? At the same time, they're scarce in herbs, which for a druidic society, being scarce, have a scarcity of herbs, money might be able to be made here, right? I think this already gives some motivation for a character who might be an herbalist, looking to reasons to go out in the forest and gather herbs in order to make money. Or maybe the other direction. Maybe a character that is more of a merchant that trades goods. Or maybe even someone who manufactures trade goods. Once again, I go, so anyway, well, that's already getting some ideas of this society. I like it. We're going to keep that. That's pretty great. Okay. It doesn't take very many dice to already decide, kind of get a little thoughts for the world we're creating. The next section is factions. I haven't played many games with factions, to be honest with you. At least not any games with factions that were really impactful or important. let's put it that way. Sometimes you might have factions, I don't know, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, unless your game master makes factions a priority, I think factions tend to really slip through the works, or unless the game you're playing really is driven by factions. I think because Cairn is such a narrative-focused game, as I said, because there's not much there, I have to create a lot. I do think factions are going to be an important part of my game. I think I want them to be an important part of my game. I think my character will work for a faction or two. I think maybe we'll do some oppositions with each other when it comes to some of these factions. I think they'll be an important part of my play. I think it'll give me a chance to do more, make more quests, make more NPCs, build more relationships in history, and kind of get a larger plot going on here. So, what it kind of says here, region is typically dominated by one or more factions, each with their own unique advantage, agenda, and obstacles. Each faction will also have one or more representatives or agents. Smaller regions with fewer point of interest should have one or two factions, while larger regions could have as many as 5 or 6 factions. I haven't really rolled for point of interest. That actually comes a little later. So I'm not sure how many point of interest we're going to have. I think for right now, I don't know, 4 sounds like a good number to me, right? Seems like 1 or 2 factions is not a lot. I think you want factions to have some rivalry. If you only have 1 or 2 factions, they dominate the region, I would think, with everyone kind of paying homage to 1 or 2 factions ruling the roost. But if you have 4 different factions, I can make some big, some small, have some conflict between the factions. There could be more of a power struggle. 5 or 6 might get a little unwieldy. I don't think I would ever probably have enough storytelling to deal with 5 or 6. I probably won't even deal with 4, but at least I could have 1 or 2 of those 4 factions operating in the background. So let's go with 4. That's how we're going to handle it first. If I roll a whole lot of point of interest or something strange, we can expand or decrease as necessary. Okay, what kind of faction? Let's do faction 1 and 2. Factions have a type, an agent. What kind of agent tends to work for them that may be representative in the town we are in. And then they have a trait, which is kind of cool. 2 traits, I guess. You know, one kind of a little bit more negative, one a little more positive, but combining them together gives you an idea of what kind of they are. And as you said, they also have an advantage, which is kind of their, I don't know, yeah, I guess saying it straight up is their advantage. And then they have an agenda and an obstacle. So as you can see, each faction is really pretty developed after that. And then, of course, they talk a little bit about an example of making one, a little bit about like the goals of the factions, working with each other. There's a lot to build when it comes to factions. And really, I think they, Mr. Gall provides a lot of tools for you to really make that faction an important part of your party's actions in dealing with them. So yeah. So we'll do 4. Let's go back and roll on this last one here. Okay, I don't know the names yet. As you can imagine, naming things is always the hardest thing. So I'm going to roll for each of these factions, and then I'll come up with names later for them to be more appropriate with whatever world we're dealing with there, because that might determine their size and things like that as well. Okay, faction 1. Maybe I'll keep this page blank for a little bit, because that's going to be a good build off this part of the world a little bit more. Okay, wow. I'm not sure, this notebook is a little tricky. A dry erase notebook. I never thought about such a thing. Yeah, I just bought it the other day and I'm trying it out. Look at me conserving paper like that matters, but what the hell. Okay, faction 1. Why is faction a weird word to write? Wow, the pen is so weird and slippery on this notebook. I almost rather have a regular notebook. Oh well, we'll try it. Okay, so we're gonna go with types. Ooh, well, at least nice thing is I can. I'm gonna work with my finger. All right, well, that's what a dry erase is for. Type. God, I'm acting like I've never written before, even though I write for a living. Stupid. Okay, let's roll. 18 and 12. Settlers and their agent. No, wait a minute. Yeah, settlers and their agent is 12. A merchant, that makes sense. Type settlers and their agent is a merchant. That seems to fit. That seems to work out well. Traits. Let's see. 10 and 11. They're intellectual, okay, and generous. that make sense when we're living in a society of what appears to be scholarly druids. One of the factions are intellectual settlers. All right, I would imagine this being kind of the main faction, right? For the people that live in this town. This is probably the biggest and primary faction of the representative of the people in this area. All right, let's see what other things they got going on. I can imagine this already being the main druids who have settled in this area. Advantage. Two. Anonymity. Anonymity. So you roll a d20 to determine the number of advantages each faction has. Oh, and then a d20 for each corresponding advantages. For example, a result of 2 was received from the number of advantages. Then you would roll the type column twice, each resulting in a reroll. So they could have a whole lot of advantages, couldn't they? d20 for the number. d20 again for the corresponding advantage. Huh. That's a lot. Well, in that case, okay, I rolled a 2. So they have 2 advantages. Is basically what I'm rolling there. Now let's roll the type. 4 beliefs, druids, and 6 conviction. Conviction in their beliefs. Beliefs and conviction. Wow, see how that really all flows, right? We got intellectual, generous settlers in a society steered towards natural harmony and scholarly, who have the advantage of being of their beliefs and their conviction. That's just smells like a society of druids in this town, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, faction agenda. Roll a good 20 for each column and combine. All right, 19 and 15. They're looking to seek new leadership. And 15, the obstacle, hindered by cultural taboos. Seek new leadership. An obstacle hindered by cultural taboos. The way I'm picturing that is that the leader of this group of druids who have settled here, their archdruid, the Hierophant, or maybe I'll make it a group of elders. I don't know, I'll think about it. But the Hierophant has grown old and senile. But due to their cultural release, they can't really replace him. He needs to pass away naturally before a new leader may be chosen. But that hasn't happened. But the leader, the current Hierophant, is growing old and senile, and perhaps he's causing a lot of troubles in their society, and they would like to replace him, but they are hindered because, like I said, he normally is a lifelong position, and he is not going anywhere despite their wishes. Okay, see? It's coming together. I really like this first faction a lot. What else do we need to roll? That's it. That's faction number 1. Wow, that turned out great. I like that a whole lot. Okay, faction number 1, the Druids who have settled into this land and who run our society. They're the strongest faction. Faction number 2. Let's see. How about 15 and 7? Stoic. And they're into exploration. Okay. Stoic explorers. That's an interesting combo. Okay, their resources and scarcity. Oh, wait a minute, these are people. Hold on. I've gone back too far. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Scratch that. There's the faction. I went back a little too far. That would have been interesting to have a group of Stoic explorers. That's not who these people are, though. These people are scholarly, harmony people. Okay, here we go. Faction type. There we go. 4 cultists. Interesting. 14, and their contact is a mystic. Well, that makes sense. Cultists. And their agent is a mystic. Well, that makes perfect sense for a cult, right? The traits of this particular group. (17 and 10). They are resourceful and deceptive. Oh, have we got our villains? Are we finding our villains here now? They're resourceful and deceptive. I'm sensing we have a more villainous cult going on right here. Not that I would always say that the secondary trait, they're not always bad. There's quite a few bad ones on this list, though. Faction advantage. Seems like a lot. Roll a d20 for the number of advantages. Oh my goodness. I mean, that could be crazy. Advantages. All right, well, let's see. I'll roll a d20 for the number of advantages they have. 19. Oh, 19. That's too many. That's way too many. 19. Roll a d20 to number of advantages faction. Now, then we do one again for the corresponding advantage. For example, we rolled a 2 with a number of advantages on the column. You would type the column twice, noting each result. Re-roll repeated results. So I would be much easier to roll what advantages they don't have. I don't think so. That seems like too many to me. That's like all the advantages. I could literally just subtract 1. Like the only advantage they don't have is 6 conviction. I don't think so. That's I think instead, let's roll a d10. I think a d10 sounds like more than enough advantages to give any one faction. I think a d20 seems like way too much. 2. Okay, that seems better. All right. 2. Their advantages are 7 and 1. So they do have alliances as being their advantages. And a 7 fealty. Oh, well, okay. Interesting. Alliances and fealty. Well, alliances and fealty go well together. All right. Faction agenda. And obstacle 9. Establish a new order. That sounds about right for a group of cultists, right? 13. Considerable capital is required. Establish a new order. Significant capital is required. Oh, God, my handwriting's awful today. I like that. I'm sensing something very Star Warsy. New Order. Dun, 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 dun. I can't believe I can't even say the Star Wars thing. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, Faction 3. They seem villainous, though. They seem very villainous. I don't know about you, but they were giving me very much the scary villain vibes. Faction 3. All right. Type. 9 and 18. Military and a spy. Oh boy. Military. And their agent is a spy. I like that. That's already cool. Faction traits. A 5 and a 15. They are discreet. Well, that would make sense if their agent was a spy, right? They would have to be discreet. But they're, and the second one's a 15, repressed. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Repressed. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. The faction advantages. Like I said, I'm going to stick to a D10. I think someone having 19 advantages, that might be well and good if you have like one faction who runs everything. That makes sense. But in my world, I don't think they're going to have that many. Wow, so they only have one advantage and it's a 7. Fealty again. Okay. One advantage. Fealty. Okay. Yeah, I'm sensing a secret organization in this town, perhaps. They are kind of a representative of the king from far away, something like that, a group from the larger capital that perhaps they're here to kind of maintain the peace of the world, of the larger kingdom. They owe their allegiance to maybe a military commander in the capital, something like that, a lord, a duke, whoever maybe rules the land. But repressed might indicate they are not welcome here. Perhaps this druidic society has been formed here out of freedom from getting away from whatever the commands of the king or the duke are, or even this cult. They have no interest in the larger rule from the capital. The reason they're here is to get away from them. They look to rule themselves in this town. So no one is looking to have any noble representation in this place. Hence why they have to be discreet. And their agent's a spy. And they're best. I guess their fact would be a military. So it'd be like more of a military commander or something. Anyway, I get a little something going on here with these vibes. Let's see what their agenda is. 17, revenge. Oh. 11, another faction stands in opposition. Oh, I like that. I like that. Perhaps that might have more to do with the villainous second faction, maybe the cultists. Perhaps they have started to take over society and take over the situation in the capital. And perhaps these cultists destroyed their military order. or has subverted it, the larger military, but all that's left is this kind of sub-faction of the military that remains loyal and not influenced by this cult. And they want revenge on what's happened to the military and their people. Yeah, I'm sensing something here. I like this. Okay, faction 3. Let's do the fourth one. Fourth and final. 5, exiles. Exiles and farmers. Okay. All right, exiles and farmers. Or did I go the other way around? Did I roll? I think I did. I think I just bumped these dice around a little bit. So it's exiles and farmers. Uh-huh. I don't know if I mixed my dice up. I think I just bumped them. Either way, it's not. I'm not going to do cultists. So exiles and farmers sound better. Traits. 16 and 19. Pragmatic and threatened. That might make sense. Pragmatic. Threatened. I think this group is coming together for me too. I'm already seeing something. Let's see what their advantages are. Let's see, they're going to have 6 advantages. Okay. Well, for a bunch of threatened exiles, 6 advantages sounds pretty good. Okay. Let's see, 15 and 14, position and renown. Oh, I see. Hold on. Total number of advantages. How does this work? D20. Oh, I see. I did this kind of wrong. Well, it kind of worked out okay. Here's the D20. D20 is the number of advantages. Oh, I see. That's right. Here's the number. And this is the total number of advantages they get. Is this on my map here? Can you guys see it? Maybe it's off my camera a little bit. I was rolling that wrong. It's not D20 for the number of advantages. You roll a D20 here and it tells you here how many advantages they have. I will probably go back and I think I kind of remember my rolls. And if I need to roll for some, I will re-roll for these last couple to determine how many advantages they have. Okay, so when I rolled a 14, I rolled a, let's roll a D10 over again. Now that I see how that column works, I wasn't reading it right. Let's re-roll that. Now that makes more sense. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna have 20 advantages. It makes no sense. The max they're ever gonna have is 4. And that's only if I roll like an 18, 19, 20. That makes so much more sense. My mind was being blown. Okay, let's see how many advantages they have. 18. Okay, they have 4 advantages, which is still quite hefty. 2 and 19. Anonymity. 19. Subterfuge. 3 and 6. Apparatus. And 6. Conviction again. Okay, that makes so much more sense. God, I was losing my mind. I was like, there's no way they have 19 advantages. Okay, faction agenda and obstacle. Let's see, 17, revenge again. A key piece of information must first be discovered. Oh, wow, this is some vengeful stuff going on around here. revenge. A key piece of information is missing. Must be discovered. Okay, I picture this. This is really a good one too. This turned out well. This makes sense. So you have a group of exiles. I'll have to decide from where. They've settled down. They're farmers in this community now, of this community of scholarly druids. They're farmers. They're very pragmatic, but they are threatened. It would make sense. They've been threatened by an outside force, which is why they're exiled. That threat of them being here still exists, even though they've had to flee their homelands. They've got some advantages out here, but they seek revenge for the people who have exiled them from their lands. But a key piece of information must be discovered. That faction's great. That works out really well too. Okay, let's go back a bit. Since I screwed up that advantage a little bit, now that I see a little bit more clearly how that's supposed to be done, let's do that correctly. Okay, faction 3. So I rolled a d10 for them. Let's see how many actual advantages they have. They have fealty. Let's roll a correct d20 to determine how many advantages they actually have. 1. Okay, they only had 1 advantage, and they worked out. Okay, let's go to faction 2. I rolled like a 2 for them. Let's re-roll and see how many advantages they actually have. 9. 2. Okay, so it worked out. And I think the first faction I did roll a d20. I just happened to roll a 2 for them. So really, I guess they actually only have 1 advantage, because I only rolled a 2 when I rolled that number. So let's erase conviction. They really just have beliefs. That's the first one I rolled. They only had 1 advantage. Okay. Okay, good. We got that right. That was an easy thing to fix. So there we go. There's my factions all drawn up. And boy, they look really great. I really like that. So we have a culture that is scholarly and in a natural harmony. Their advantage are trade goods. We'll have to decide what kind of things they make here. They're shorted on herbs. So I think this makes perfect for this to be a scholarly, druidic society that seeks harmony with the forest. The forest's a big thing. I haven't talked much about Cairn. I mentioned a little bit before, but the forest is a big thing in Cairn. It's the other, the outside the city, the mysterious force that sort of rules their world. They seek only to grow. We'll develop the forest at a later date. That comes further down the line. But the human world does have to find ways to deal with the forest. Natural harmony is a good way. I don't think you want to antagonize the forest too much. But being a druid society short on herbs, okay. I already like the society they got going on here. I like the fact that it makes sense that the first faction are the druids that settled here. They're the settlers of this place. A merchant is their agent. Well, they specialize in trade goods. There we go, an important part of that. They're intellectual and generous, so they're actually a very benevolent organization. They have their belief, which being a faction of druids, natural harmony, that is their advantage. But they do seek new leadership, and they're hindered by cultural taboos. Once again, I think maybe they're seeking, their Hierophant is getting old, he's gone senile, maybe things are falling apart. In some of their factions having trouble, they want to replace him, but due to the rules of their society, he has to die naturally. They can't just replace him, but that is what they wish to do. And then you have the villains. Cultists, their agent is a mystic. We'll have to determine what their cultists are about. Believe me, there's a lot of room for that because the forest has strange societies that exist in it. They're more like Fae, though. Maybe not, but the other big thing in Cairn is not just the forest, But underneath the forest are the roots, which is a strange area of abominations and weirder things. There is some room for that in Cairn, for there to be some Cthulhu cultists. Not quite, but yes, we'll find some use for cultists. They are resourceful and deceptive. How better an agenda for villains than resourceful and deceptive? Those are the best traits for a villain society to have. Alliances and fealty. This might be kind of nice. Like I said, maybe this does relate to the city. Maybe they have alliances from outside to draw resources upon, and those people are now in charge. They may have secret nobility who are cultists, who have resources, and they want to establish a new order, but they don't have an army. They need significant capital to change the world. And then we have the third faction, which is a group of military, but their traits are their main agent is a spy. Their traits are discreet and repressed. So, and they too have a fealty, so they may be that remaining faction of the larger nobility that have not turned to the cult. They may be the rebels. If the cultists in faction number 2 is the New Order, maybe these are the rebels. They want revenge as well, probably against the cult. I would imagine the cultists are going to stand in direct opposition here. We got politics. We got stuff going on. I don't think the Druids, or I'm not so sure even with our fourth faction, is going to be interested in getting involved in that, but we'll see. The fourth faction are exiles or farmers. I picture them being more as people. They're not a military organization. They're not something like that. These are people, but they have leaders, of course. They're pragmatic. I view them as being, farmers are kind of pragmatic folk, but they are threatened. I would imagine they're exiles from their land. Those who have exiled them still maybe want them dead. But they have some advantages. They have quite a lot of advantages. Anonymity, anonymity, okay, whatever. Subterfuge. They are, did I say adaptive? Oh, apparatus. Yeah, apparatus. So they must have some sort of technology, magic, something to themselves, dispute to their culture they have in this town that they've brought with them. And they have conviction in their own beliefs. They too want revenge, probably upon the people who exiled them. And a key information must be obtained before that can happen. I'm not sure if I'm going to put faction 4 as related to this larger city disagreement between factions 2 and faction 3. Faction 2 and faction 3 seem to work well together. Faction 1 are the people who rule this place currently, the benevolent folks. So I don't know. I might make these guys more a fourth, not necessarily related, to the other groups. They may be from some other area. Yeah. Okay, the factions are great. I guess I'll pause the video here. There's my 4 factions. There's the beginning part of the world. After this is where we get to things like topography, where we actually get to build the physical world. And you get to roll dice and put stuff on a map. That's why I had that here. This will be a lot of fun. So I think the next video, we'll build the world around us, the land and the topography, and we'll draw points of interest and give us a larger world to explore and go from there. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a great week.